Hello friends and welcome to part 9 of Wiggly Questions. Well, it is taking a while to get through these Wiggly questions and I thought I'd do it in this setup today because it's easy for me to see the writing when it's written this large. Hopefully you guys probably can't see it either. Well, actually the truth is I've just finished filming a segment of Wiggly song lyrics, so that's why I'm in this setup still. I thought, well, it might be easy for me to read the questions when they're this big on the screen rather than that big and I have to squint to see them. I probably still have to squint with this size anyway, but what I thought I would do is start here and work my way down. All right, now these are questions that have been left under Wiggly Questions part 7, I think. Now, I am having great difficulty keeping up with answering all the questions, so I apologise for that, everybody. Perhaps what we might do is we'll find a way of collating all the questions, of the ones that I haven't answered. We'll put them all together somehow and I'll just try and whiz through them at some stage. But I need some way of knowing which ones I've answered and which ones I haven't. So apart from that, let's just get on with it. Now, Taylor Z, or Taylor Z as we would say in Australia, has said, "Hi Greg, I know it's taking forever to get through everyone's questions and that's okay." Well, that's good. I'm glad you think that's okay. Thank you very much. Just wanted to say that you and the other Wiggles have been such a great inspiration to me ever since I was 5 and I thank you all for that. Well, that's great. Thank you very much, Taylor. My questions for you are, what Wiggles VHS or DVDs are your personal favourite? Okay, so out of all the ones that we did, look, I really like Wake Up Jeff. I think that was a lot of fun. Wiggly World, so Wiggly World was great too because we got to work with a lot of wonderful artists on that. So one of my big, not idols, but somebody who I certainly admire a lot is Tim Finn, and we got to sing 6 Months in a Leaky Boat with Tim on that album. So that video is probably one of my favourites. But look, if I look back on some of the early stuff that we did too, I think for what we had to put that all together, it was a lot of fun. You know, back in the early days, it was Jeff and I painting the sets and things, and we really did do a lot of stuff behind the scenes ourselves, and that was a lot of fun. It gave me a lot of experience in how to actually put something together on the grassroots level. Now, the next question you've got there, Taylor, is what were some of your favourite songs to record? Well, there's a lot of songs we did over the years, as we're finding out with Wiggly song lyrics. If you want to check out some of the Wiggly song lyrics videos where I put myself to the test to see if I remember all of these songs, you can check it out right here, everybody. I think it'll probably be up here somewhere or somewhere over here. I don't know. Anthony's going to put that in later for me. He does a great job for me. Anthony Costa, he'll put it somewhere there. I'll put it there somewhere. Click on that, that'll take you to Wiggly song lyrics and you can test yourself against me, see if you know more than I do, which you probably do. So what were my favourite songs? I don't know, Taylor, lots of them. Gosh. I don't know. I mean, it's funny, I probably enjoyed singing them live more than recording them because when we recorded them, they were so new, we didn't really know the songs because we probably literally wrote them in the studio that day or that week. And certainly by the time we got them on the road and we're doing them in the live shows, I was a lot more comfortable with them. So a lot of the time I'll listen back to vocal tracks from the CDs and I kind of go, I didn't even know the melody that well. So it's kind of like Anthony would hum the melody to me sometimes if he had written it, or, you know, somebody had done a guide vocal for me and I was trying to work out what the melody actually was. And, you know, not being a great singer myself, it was hard for me to work out where I should be singing it. By the time we got them on the road and on stage, I got a lot more comfortable with them. So I probably enjoyed singing them on the road more than recording them, if you know what I mean. Hope that answers your question, Taylor. Now, Mr. Dank Engine 1999 EDCP, I can't believe you mentioned my name in this video. Well, I'm glad you can't believe that. I try to mention everybody's names if I can, and I try to get them all right, like Angry Birds Fan 2000. Hi, Greg, my name is Justin. I've been a huge Wiggles fan since when I was little. I have 2 questions for you. Who's your favourite Wiggly friend, and what was your favourite Wiggles DVD that you made with the original Wiggles? So my favourite Wiggly friend, well, that's a tough one because I like all of them. Look, I would have to say that it's Captain Feathersword because Captain Feathersword is just so funny. I mean, Paul Paddock, who plays Captain Feathersword and has done for 24 years now, I reckon. Paddy, would that be right? 24 years you've been Captain Feathersword now, or 25 maybe? You'd be into your 25th year, if not your 26th. And yeah, Captain Feathersword is just so much fun to be around. So Paul Paddock, an amazing job you have done at really bringing that character to life. That's not to say that, Anthony, you didn't do a bad job yourself in the early days, and Paul Field and John Field, you've both had a turn as well, and even Paul Rogers. you're all great Captain Featherswords, but the master is Paul Paddock, and I think you would probably all agree with that. Actually, Jeff Fatt, you've been Captain Feathersword as well, and you did an incredible job, my friend. Now, what was your favourite Wiggles DVD? I kind of had this question before, and I don't really know, but I think Wake Up Jeff was one of them. I don't know, look, in all honesty, making all of them was just so much fun. I mean, we got on so well together, the other guys and myself, so that when we were on set, we just had so much fun all the time. I mean, there were stressful times when we forgot lines or we had to do take after take of dance routines. But look, honestly, it was just the greatest time of my life to be able to do what I loved doing with the three guys that were my friends. We're still friends. I don't see as much of them anymore, unfortunately, but to live in each other's pockets for so many years and to come out the other side and still be friends is quite amazing. So, it was just an amazing experience. So I can't really put my finger on what the best one was or my favourite one was, because there's so much great stuff that we did, and I'm really proud of it all. It's not really a good answer to your question, is it? I'm afraid about that. But anyway, Blues Clues and the Wiggles FTW Teen Titans Go FTL. I have no idea what those things mean, but anyway, do you have Get Ready to Wiggle 1998 live in high quality? Now, Get Ready to Wiggle 1998, I'm not sure what that one would be. So 1998, we filmed in 1997. We filmed our very first Wiggly Big Show here in Australia. I think that might be what you're talking about. You might be from the US, Blues Clues and the Wiggles FTW Teen Titans Go FTL. And that, I don't know if that got released in the US actually, but anyway, I think out here it was called the Wiggly Big Show, and that would probably be around that time. Do I have it? Probably not. But I do know that the Wiggles are now starting to release onto YouTube some of the classic Wiggles stuff. And I think classic Wiggles is code for old, like the old guys, Murray, me, Jeff and Anthony. So if you want to check out some classic Wiggles videos from the official Wiggles channel, you can click right here, I think is where you'll find it. Anthony, just put it somewhere there, please, if you can, mate. And yes, the classic Wiggles videos, that one that you're talking about may appear there at some stage. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, Green Day FTW. Hi Greg, it's Liam again. First off, thank you so much for answering my questions in part 5. I have some different questions for you this time. All right, cool. What was your first ever concert that you went to? The first ever concert I went to? All right, the first ever concert that I went to, believe it or not, was Wham! Yes, the great 1980s band featuring George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley, Wham! Now they had a hit with Wake Me Up Before You Go, don't leave me hanging on like a yo-yo, wake me up. Anyway, you might not know it. If you don't know it, check it out. It is a great song. It was a lot of fun. Wham! Were a great band. Now, unfortunately, George has passed away. Now, he passed away Christmas Day, I think maybe 2 years ago. So it's a very sad story. But Wham! Was the first concert that I went to. There's a story behind it. I think my uncle had bought tickets for a group of people. He had some deal where he could get early tickets to concerts through, I don't know, some like Visa preferred thing, the equivalent thing. I don't think it was that back in the day. This was like 1982 or 1984, I think, 1983 maybe. Anyway, my uncle had bought all these tickets and he had a couple of leftovers, and he asked if it was all right if I went with my sister to see Wham! So that's basically the backstory in a nutshell. So thank you, Uncle John, for those tickets. It was a very impactful concert, that's for sure. I certainly remember it. I mean, the experience of being at a live concert, and that was my first time. It was at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, so probably 15 to 20,000 people filled the room, and George Michael just had such a great stage presence. He had such energy. I mean, he sang and danced the whole concert, and he got the audience involved, and that's probably what did it for me in terms of hooking me on that adrenaline, or that connection between an audience and an artist. Hopefully we were able to do that with the Wiggles. Hopefully we gave you guys that sense of excitement and that feeling of adrenaline going through your body in terms of being at a live event with all these people around you, all experiencing the same event, but probably experiencing it in a different way. And I think that's a great thing about music. It connects us to our feelings and our emotions, and it's different for each and every one of us. So that's why I love music. That's why I love live music too, because it's so spontaneous. And being in the Wiggles was a great part of my life, and I'm really, hang on, so, no, what's that, Greg? Greg talks about that. I don't know. I don't know what this means. People have replied to your question there. Liam, I'm not sure if I've talked about that before in a video. I don't think I have. I think I did in my book maybe, but not in a video. Now, here we have Ali Jessup Productions 2013, The Video Kid. All right, that's short and sweet. I like it. Question 1. When did you start becoming a yellow wiggle in the Wiggles? Okay, so I started in the Wiggles in 1991, but I wasn't a yellow wiggle until 1992. That's when we put on those wonderful yellow skivvies. So 1991, we had the very first CD that looked a little bit like this. And if you can just pop that in there for me, please, mate, that'd be great. That's how we looked in 1991. For 1992, our second CD, our manager, Jeremy Fabini, a wonderful guy. Jeremy, you know that I think the world of you. You're an amazing person, and you did an incredible job of helping to launch the Wiggles, and I am very grateful to you for that. So Jeremy suggested that we have a different look for our second CD. So we came up with the idea of black pants and different coloured tops for each one of us. Now, I can tell this story now, although hopefully I'm not going to go too long with this. So Jeff already had a purple skivvy. Murray already had a red top. Now, I think Jeff's was a turtleneck from memory. Murray's was not a turtleneck. It was just a round neck top, I think. So Anthony and I both needed to get skivvies because we didn't have solid coloured tops. So we very foolishly went shopping together. I mean, we were mates, so that's not the problem. The problem was that when we went into the shop that sold the skivvies, we both wanted blue. And guess who was the faster runner? Yep, Anthony. He beat me to the blue skivvy. So we raced to the back of the store and Anthony got to the blue one before me. So I looked around and really the only other colour option was a yellow skivvy. So that's how I became the yellow wiggle. Now, interestingly enough, at Baulkham Hills Primary School, where I went to school for many, many years, and I did some prac teaching there in 1992, the school uniform for winter were grey pants and a yellow skivvy. So there is a photo of me somewhere. It could be in my book Now and Then, I think. If you want to have a look at Now and Then, and you can probably pop something in there that'll show people my book Now and Then. There's a photo of me, I'm pretty sure, in that book as a young 9-year-old, probably year 4, I reckon, wearing the yellow skivvy. Oh no, it might be younger than that actually, I can't remember. But there's a few photos of me at home in my school photographs wearing the yellow skivvy and the grey pants. Now, how come Hit Entertainment never released a Wiggles video from 1996 called Wake Up Jeff on DVD, even though it's only on VHS by Lyric Studios? Well, you know what? I can't answer that. I'm sorry, I don't know why they didn't do that. Wake Up Jeff, yeah, it probably did come out on VHS through Lyric. Now, why it didn't come out through Hit, I'm not sure. So I can't answer that one. See, I don't know everything about the Wiggles. I know a bit, but not everything. Spencer Tony says, how's Jeff doing lately? Do you keep in touch? Well, I actually haven't spoken to Jeff for about not 18 months, because I spoke to him maybe 6 or 7 months ago. Actually, I had a call from Jeff and we had a bit of a chat. He's doing pretty well, actually. I think he's, Jeff is an amazing guy. Jeff would have to be, if I haven't said this before, which I may have, Jeff would have to be the closest to being at peace with himself that I've met with in anybody in my whole life. I mean, he's just such a placid, easygoing guy. And I think we only saw Jeff get angry once in the whole 20 years. Well, I was with the Wiggles for 16 years, but so in 16 years, I think I only saw Jeff get angry once. And it was over something, it was a very tough period of time for the Wiggles. We were doing 4 shows a day for a whole week in Sydney. This was back in probably 1993 or 94. I think it was 93. And we'd been asked to do the Sydney Carols in the Domain for the very first time. So back in 93, we were everything. The 4 of us were the crew, we were the performers, Jeff was handling all the merchandise sales. It was full on. It was a very, very busy time. We were all very, very tired. Jeff was driving the gear from the venue where we were doing the 4 shows a day to the Carols in the Domain rehearsals at the Domain in Sydney. And it was late at night and he'd reversed his car into, I think, one of those, in car parks and things, they have these bollards that sort of go along the side of the car park so you don't drive onto areas you're not supposed to drive onto. Well, Jeff was reversing up to load up the gear after the Carols in the Domain performance and reversed into one of these poles and he kind of lost it. He got a little bit stressed and angry about it, but I reckon that's the only time I've ever seen Jeff angry. I think most of us kept pretty good control over our emotions a lot of the time. We had our disagreements from time to time, but they were fruitful. They were, what do you call it? Creative collaborations is what you would call it. So we certainly had differences of opinion about things from time to time, but that's what really helped us to focus on making sure that we stayed true to what we believed in terms of making sure that the content that we produced was educationally and developmentally appropriate for children. So we'd have these discussions. They'd get a little bit heated sometimes, but we never really held on to those moments of differences of opinion. We'd let them go and we'd move on and we'd just keep doing what we did. And that's the great thing about being friends. You can have those disagreements and still be able to move forward and keep doing what we did for so many, many years. Now, Cole Atkins. Hi, Greg. I'm Cole, and yellow is my favourite colour. And I wanted to know, is there a warehouse that has all of the used stage props, etc.? I don't think so. So, the Wiggles bought a property way back in '97. That became our headquarters. It became our place where we stored all the merchandise that we sold at the concerts. It became the place where we stored all the props for our shows and for our TV series and the movie back then. After that, now I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2002, 2003, we then sold that property and then we bought a new studio at Bella Vista where the Wiggles are now, or Norwest, I'm not sure what it goes by now, Borkham Hills even. Anyway, the Wiggles are still there now. Now, last time I was there, I saw that the Wiggles do have still a lot of props and things there. They don't have everything because there's been so many things over the years. So what's happened to them all, I'm not quite sure. I know the Powerhouse Museum display in Sydney might have some of those props on display, but yeah, there's not really an official sort of Wiggles vault or archive of props as far as I know. The Wiggles would know more about that than me. Nicholas Linthicum. What did you think about Steve Irwin dying, I think you said, if you heard of that? I think that's what that means. Now, I don't think I've answered this, but I think I've spoken about Steve before. And yeah, of course, look, Steve passing away was very, very sad. We had shot the Wiggly Safari video, and you say here, could you and the original Wiggles come back and do a Wiggly Safari too? Well, look, I can't, I'm sure. The other Wiggles might want to do that. But, as you know, I'm not part of the Wiggles anymore, only if we do the reunion concerts. But yeah, look, Steve's passing was very sad and tragic, because we got on very well with Steve and the family, and to hear of his passing was just an absolute shock. It came out of nowhere. So look, we have stayed in touch with the family since. I haven't spoken to the family for a long time now, but certainly after Steve passed away, we were all in touch with them, and we've kept that sort of connection with them, even though it hasn't been maintained up until recently, but we do think of them often. In fact, I was up on the Sunshine Coast for a holiday with the family a couple of weeks ago, and fondly remembered shooting the Wiggly Safari DVD at Australia Zoo and remembered Steve and the family. So yeah, it's nice to look back on that and think of the legacy that Steve has left behind for everybody, and the conservation work that continues to be done by Australia Zoo. So well done to the Irwin family. Now, could the new Wiggles do I Will Go Wiggly Safari 2? The new Wiggles, I'm not sure if they're going to do Wiggly Safari or do a Wiggly Safari 2. I'm not sure about that. Did you know they mentioned him in Big Birthday and they did a new version of Crocodile Hunter? No, I didn't know that. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, Crocodile Hunter was a great song, and yes, that was written for Steve. We wrote that song for Steve. Crocodile Hunter, Big Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter, Action Man. Now, I can't do the falsetto. I think Paul Paddock did that in the song. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and yeah, it brings back some great memories. Now, Nicholas says you did the Shimmy Shake by the Beatles. Okay, so I didn't do the Shimmy Shake. That was with Sam. That was after I'd left. And Shimmy Shake, I don't think was actually a Beatles song. The guys did the Shimmy Shake in the style of a Beatles song, and they put on the wigs to look like the Beatles, and it sounded like a Beatles song. So I don't think it actually was a Beatles song. It was just done to be in that style. Oh, Nicholas, you got another question here. I did not know. Okay, I did not know that Simon was originally going to be the yellow Wiggle. So why did he become red and Emma be the yellow? So this is what I spoke about in one of the other Wiggly Question videos. When I went back to the group in 2012, it was an approach that was made to me by the Wiggles at the end of 2011, because Sam wasn't going to be continuing on as the yellow Wiggle. It was actually planned that Simon would take over from Sam, and he would be the yellow wiggle. But then somebody had the idea of asking me to come back and help sort of transition between Sam and then Simon. But then, and I think I said this in the video, and just notice this here, look at this very pensive image of Greg Page there on a 60 Minutes video. It's not actually 60 Minutes. I think it's probably a current affair. And I could talk a little bit about that. There's some really weird stuff that went into that. But anyway, I just saw that picture of me sitting there looking all thoughtful and everything. Anyway, so when I went back to the Wiggles, yes, it was to replace Sam because he was leaving. Simon was going to take over, but then when I went back, and I think I mentioned this, that there was a lot of turmoil about how it was all done and Sam not knowing and all this kind of stuff. We had a big group meeting about how we were going to deal with that, and eventually Murray and Jeff kind of said, well, look, we'll probably retire at the end of this year, so that would be a good time to transition them out of the group and transition Simon in, and 2 new other Wiggles then to take Murray and Jeff's place. So that's kind of how it all went down. I can talk a lot more about that if you want, but it's pretty boring, really. So I'll move on. Anna Holloman, how unfortunate that are you going back to the Wiggles questions the same day Emma's announced a medical leave? Now, good point. Now, at the time that I answered those questions about going back to the Wiggles, I was totally unaware about that. Now, I did know that Emma probably wasn't well. I knew that a little bit ago. I didn't really know what the situation was, but now I do, and I do know that she's gone into hospital. She's on medical leave, and no, I haven't been asked to fill in for Emma because I don't think I'd look good in the bow, or the skirt for that matter. So I'm not sure what they've done to fill in for Emma, but I did see that somebody is going to be taking her place so that everybody can sing and dance along with all of Emma's songs. Now, the Wiggles fan-made show. I'm not sure what that means. What's the Wiggles fan-made show? Is that a channel that you've got here on YouTube? I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. Question number 1. How did the Wiggles come up with Rock-A-Bye Ya Bear? Well, that is a very interesting story. It's a song that I wrote, partly wrote. I came up with the very first part of that song. So everybody clap, everybody sing, la 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 la. I think that Anthony came up with bow to your partner, then you turn around. I might have had Hands in the Air, Rock-A-Bye Ya Bear, I can't remember. But anyway, it was a collaboration. I had the first sort of impetus for it. Then Anthony contributed to it, and Philip Wiltshire put in that little... Anyway, it was a group effort, and that's how we came up with it. Who wrote Rock-A-Bye Ya Bear? Well, I think kind of answers that question as well. Now, here we go. Jenna F says, ask Anthony if you can show some of your video footage. Well, I think the Wiggles are doing that. They're starting to put on YouTube now some of their classic Wiggles videos. Yes, the old guys, the original Wiggles from 20-something years ago. I think they're starting to do that. Now, I am waffling again, everybody, so I'm up to Michael, Wiggles fan. I'm going to have to leave it there. So let me do some work. Let me try and collate all these unanswered questions somehow, and I'll try and get through them all. So stay tuned, everybody. There'll be another episode or another part of Wiggly Questions coming up real soon. See you then.